Even one large major organization went to the bank to get commercial paper, and they were paying exorbitant rates. And this is a large company with tons of cash. It was paying exorbitant rates on paper. And think about what it means for the smaller company. I mean, you're paying just incredible rates. I don't know if that's the same case in Canada. I don't know if the because the banks here seem to be much more well-funded, higher capital rates. They're perhaps not as difficult in extending credit. The Toronto Dominions, the Royal Banks, and so forth. You agree with that, or? Yeah. Yes.
Actually, I would say it's very similar in Canada because the cost to the banks of short and medium term funding is so high that they have to pass it on. Otherwise, they've got the margins.
Yeah. Well, in some cases, even if they have higher rates, they're cutting the lines in half, and it's just not enough. And there are people coming to me saying, I want to grow my business. I have enough customers, but I can't get the credit to hire extra employees right now. It's almost a vicious circle that we're starting to see. We are starting to see companies spend more time reviewing their contractual terms. Boy, if there was a good time to renew your contracts or renegotiate your contracts, again, now is the time to do it. Okay, because now you have an opportunity to lock down rates, to lock down terms, to lock down pricing at a time when people really need the business. And again, if you can build stronger contracts, you can build improved payment terms in exchange for lower pricing. There's a lot of things you can do, and now is really a very good time to get creative and look at opportunities to strengthen those contracts. And again, in places in the U.S. and Brazil, suppliers are literally calling their customers and saying, we need more business. We're willing to give you a 10 to 15% price reduction. It's gotten to that point. So again, this is an opportune time to do this. And again, we're seeing more of that as well. People are more likely to start to discuss contractual terms, open up lines of credit. For a supplier who's cash strapped, if they can get a longer term or 2-year contract and take that to the bank, that can help them maybe secure an improved line of credit with a lower rate. So it really is worth its weight in gold right now for everybody. We're starting to see, again, the smart people start to look at payment terms. Whatever happened to 2% 10 net? There's some very good arguments for quicker payment and discounting. And if you think about it, the other option for suppliers is to factor a receivable. Factoring is just very, very expensive. It can be up to 20, 30%. So if they can take a 10% or 2% 10-day net, they're going to jump on that. It makes a heck of a lot of sense for everybody, and certainly will improve your pricing as well. The problem, of course, is banks are failing. They're not loaning as much. We are starting to see some very creative banks, financial institutions, step into the void. We had a presentation from GE Capital last week. And GE Capital it's almost like a factoring process, but they will actually take a receivable, even for international transactions from China. They'll have a letter of credit, and the buying company will check the container in Shanghai. They'll call and say, yeah, it's acceptable, it's on the ship. They'll transfer the funds into the Shanghai bank, who transfers it to the customer, and they take ownership. So they're able to very quickly exploit this for a small fee and turn these receivables around very quickly for cash-strapped companies. The other part of this, of course, is the human factor. And I don't know if you've seen this, but people, when they get into a jam or when they get into a recession like this, they sort of freeze. It's like deer in the headlights. They just, no one wants to act, no one wants to make a decision. No one wants to do anything because we're in a recession or things are bad and I might lose my job. And it becomes sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy where if no one does anything, nothing is going to get done and things will get worse. So this is really a time to kind of drive change in your people, drive a sense of urgency, and begin to let people start to think about what we can do differently than what we're doing today. And certainly we're seeing the downsizing is occurring. It's in fact it's already happened in the U.S. for the most part. It will 15 million people is a huge number. I don't know what they're predicting, over 10% in the U.S. I don't know if it's that bad here or not. What's the rate right now in Canada? About 7. So yeah, it's not quite as bad. 4% is pretty much the lowest it's ever going to get, right? So again, Brazil, we're seeing maintained employment there as well to kind of maintain the spirits. And I think what we are seeing is that people are also starting to spend more time in discussion groups to share with associates how we're handling this. This is a time for more communication, not less, and actually seeking input from people is very important during this period as well. Well, let me kind of jump into the second portion of my discussion here, which is what do we think we should do in this environment? What as procurement managers, what can we do to maybe take advantage of these opportunities to explore some changes, explore some opportunities to improve things, and to, more importantly, sustain our supply chain, stabilize our supply chain, so that it will be poised and ready for the turnaround when it comes. And no one really knows when it's going to come, but it will come. And I think we owe it to ourselves, and we really need to take a position of leadership during this period to try to make things happen. So a lot of what I'm going to talk about here is pretty common stuff. It's probably everything you've covered in a PMMS course, But I'm going to put sort of a different bent on it, which is I think we need to view it through the lens of financial risk, of contagion, of financial health, and of contract renegotiation. So one of the things, of course, is just to look at your spend and identify where do we see the risk, and where are the risk in the complex industries, and where do we see the benefit. So this is for an oil and gas company, and you'll see that typically their risks are in logistics, pressure vessels, offshore rigs, heat exchangers, where there's a lot of volatility. There's a lot of industries that are facing lower capacity, that are facing huge downturns. They're very cyclical, and generally speaking, when there is a downturn, capital projects go away. These firms are impacted. But boy, you sure want to have them, around. You want to make sure they keep their people, they keep their welders, they keep their pipe fitters, they keep their labor, because when things turn around, you're going to need them to turn very quickly, and they're not able to turn on a dime. We did find in our survey that there were some industries that clearly were at higher risk. As I said, fabrication and job shop is one. Raw materials, contract manufacturing is another. Others are at lower risk, but certainly, I think it's worthwhile to sit down, look at your spend, look at your categories, and identify which ones do we think are in that high-risk category, and which ones would we really be impacted with if something were to happen to these companies. A simple SWOT analysis is a good way to do this. I did one for engineering procurement contract firms, EPCs, such as, the big ones are Bechtel and, Jacobs and Fluor and so forth. So if you look at them, they're actually in pretty good shape because they have a lot of different businesses. They're seeing major downturns in some of their projects that are being canceled, as we said, in mining and in energy.